Hey guys, welcome back to Mr. R Show. I'm Ashton,
Andy.
and we are here with our 2020 presidential election maps. We have not seen each other, so we're gonna give you our reaction, stuff like that. So we are clearly, as of this taping, in the middle of the coronavirus situation. It's a fluid situation, like most presidential elections. A lot can happen. So these are our initial picks. This doesn't mean it will happen. This is if the election was held today, what we think would kind of shake out right now.
Yes.
So, uh, do you have anything else to add to that?
Like you said, with the virus situation, it's gonna change the maps quite a bit from what they normally would
Oh yeah.
if there was no situation. Um, we'll get into that more as we predict state by state and we show your maps. But just know that if this was, let's say, a map that happened in January and it was Biden versus Trump, it would be completely different for both of us. But just letting that be a forewarning before we get into our current, as of today, prediction general election map.
So, uh, I have a quick trivia question for you, Andy.
Ooh,
So, can you name? Can you name? You can either name the candidate or the year where a vice president ran and became president, but not while he was serving. So it was after he has served as vice president.
wow. Was it so? This vice president became a president.
Yes. The last person to do it.
Okay, because it's happened. I know Thomas Jefferson did it, and I'm guessing it's not him. Because that one was a long time ago. Gonna guess. I could be completely wrong. Is it Harry Truman?
No, it's actually Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon is the last person to run after he was serving in office and win his election. He actually ran 3 times, 2 times before he actually won. George H.W. Bush is the last vice president to become president, but he ran when he was in office in 1988. So that's a little trivia for you guys. Richard Nixon, the last person to be vice president, wait for it. He waited 4 years, ran against JFK, and then I think he waited another 8 years to run again. So
And we'll see. We saw how that turned out after he got elected.
yeah, he got elected. So let's go ahead and go into your map. Or do you want to do your map first?
Um, sure. We'll do mine first. I can
Okay.
do mine
Okay.
first. All right.
So while you're getting this up, as we were talking about in our last video, a lot of people need to realize Trump won by a very narrow margin in 2016. He won Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania by a combined vote total of around 70,000. So,
Can you see my
by
screen?
yeah, I can. So, looking at the map right now, Andy has an interesting map. Interesting. It's actually it's a very interesting seeing that you gave some of the swing states a certain percentage. And let me be clear. Let me be clear to everyone. How we did this was we did tilt is kind of like someone wins it within a few hundred votes, few thousand, tens of thousands, within a percentage point. Leans is like 1 to 3%, likely is like 3 to 6%, and then safe is of course above 6%, relatively safe. So you have let me ask you about Pennsylvania. Why could you not pick who wins Pennsylvania?
I was doing some research. You have, of course, the polls right now are really close in Pennsylvania. Trump actually won Pennsylvania back in 2016, so it's going to be a close state. I think it's still a toss-up even now during the whole virus thing. I could still see him winning Pennsylvania, but I think it's really, really close right now. A little bit too close to call, but I'm gonna call it a toss-up. But if I had to pick one, I would probably give Pennsylvania to Trump.
Hmm. Wow, you would give him Pennsylvania. Okay. And you didn't follow your own rules. You're supposed to have to pick someone, but you did say it would go to Trump. So you
Yeah.
have Biden getting over 300, which is that's a good number for Biden. I do not feel like he would be disappointed with that number if he woke up the day after.
This is just the map if we voted, let's say, tomorrow. This is how I
Tomorrow.
feel it would shake out based on everything that's happening.
Okay. So go ahead and go back to your camera and I'll show yours and then we can kind of discuss.
You have a lot more closer of a map than me.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, I see. We have some differences. Yeah, we got some differences.
Yeah. I right now have given Trump an advantage in 3 states that you're not, and you gave him an advantage in 1 that I did not.
Yes,
Um,
I think we agree in Michigan that we think Biden's going to win. But the one that interests me the most, I would say, is I'm going to have to go with Florida and how we
mhm.
switched the voting in Florida. And I want to ask you, why do you think or why did you give the edge to Trump in Florida?
So I feel like it's another coin flip situation like in 2016. And I feel like he just has a draw with those kind of panhandle voters. And it went decently well for the Republicans in 2018. They held on to the Senate seat and the governorship. Well, I don't know how much of that was because Andrew Gillum was very more lefty and anti-gun for the state. I just feel like going into 2020, he has, as the incumbent, a decent decent chance of holding on to it. And I'm talking about holding on to it by like a few thousand votes. So it's going to be a razor thin margin. The election could come down to Florida, but at least in my opinion right now, I would still give it to Trump if the election was held today. Now, reminder, coronavirus is hitting Florida decently hard. So that can change up some hearts and minds about who people are going to vote for. But for now, that's where I do it. I would actually say um, Biden has a better chance of winning in North Carolina and Arizona than he does in Florida.
Yeah, I actually, like, if you see in my map, I gave the slight edge to Biden in North Carolina. I believe he wins North Carolina, kind of like Arizona, with a very close tilt, kind of within 2%, within a couple thousand votes, kind of situation. But another interesting thing I find in your map here is in my home state, South Carolina, I gave a little bit closer uh, victory to Trump than you did. You gave him a likely almost safe vote. What gives you the confidence in South Carolina that Trump's going to just basically win in a good margin?
Uh, for South Carolina, I give it that because I would put it at the bottom end of that spectrum. Like it would be around 5% victory, which give no like that's still very close for South Carolina. And I feel like it would have to be complete blowout for Biden to win in South Carolina, and it's possible. A lot of people don't realize it is possible for Trump to lose South Carolina.
If
I
you
was
look,
one of the only I was one of the only people that said a Democrat could win in Charleston. And I said he would win in Charleston. And he ended up winning in Charleston. First Democrat in 40 years to win there. And I feel like going into this election, South Carolina is very ripe for a weak incumbent. And Trump right now is a weak incumbent. But it has to be a perfect storm of stuff. It has to be a bad economy, bad handling, and his voters have to not come out. That's a lot of ifs. So at least for me, I put it at 6%. Um, I actually think he has a bigger chance of losing Utah or Montana than South Carolina.
Ooh, that's a bold statement about Montana.
Well,
But
Montana, because the Senate candidate there actually has a good chance of winning because it's the former governor, Democratic governor of Montana. So there's it's like, it's one of those cases where if it's a blowout by Biden, where that Senate candidate actually helps Biden. It's an opposite effect.
one question I do have for you again on your map. Not really more on the map. I guess this is more just a general and question. We can both talk about this. But how
Hmm.
does Biden being, the VP of President Obama, that's a pretty obvious. Everyone knows that. How does that affect him and give him either does that hurt or does it help him or how does that is that going to affect him in this election when it comes to facing Donald Trump?
Um, I feel like it helps him in the sense of it. It helps him in the sense that he has way more credibility built up with people after 8 years of being vice president than Hillary Clinton did. Because she was kind of off the grid for like 4 years or 8 years after losing to Obama. Of course, she was Secretary of State, but that isn't as much in the limelight. He has a bigger name ID. He has less baggage. So overall, I feel like being connected to Obama will help him a lot, especially in heavy African American states. Michigan has a decent African American population that I believe, and you've seen this in the primary, will come out for him. And so does North Carolina, and so does Pennsylvania. So it's one of those things where that's why I tend to give him the edge in Pennsylvania and Michigan. Wisconsin, he doesn't have as much of a African American population. That's why I think Wisconsin will be like Florida. It'll be decided within a few hundred votes. So it's going to be definitely interesting going into this election, seeing how the African American vote kind of shifts and changes states like North Carolina and Arizona. I feel like it will be enough to put him over the edge in Arizona, and I expect Arizona, if it's a close election, to be the state that decides it.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, as I'm gonna put up both of our maps side by side here, we have me giving Biden 315 votes to your 280, and me giving Trump only 203 to your 258. Well, mine would be more of a 223 if I add Pennsylvania into that with that toss up. But you have a much
Hmm.
less margin for Biden, but we both agree that we, as of today, we give Joe Biden our victory prediction for the 2020 national election. But as the weeks continue, we'll probably try to get one of these updates out every 2 weeks to a month
Hmm.
as new polls come out, new news comes out, new everything happens around the world. We will update you guys with our maps and keep our predictions going, and we'll see in November if we're correct or not.
Yeah, I definitely have a map that was more favorable to Trump, and I had a favorable Trump map a few weeks ago. If people want to go on my Twitter, I post an election map maybe once every week or two, and it was trending towards Trump for a while there, and now it's trending a little bit back towards Biden. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes from here.
But yeah, guys, thank you again for joining us at our national election poll predictions. If you like our content, want to see more, always like, share, and subscribe. Comment below what you guys think is your predictions are more accurate for the Biden versus Trump election. And we'll see you in the next video, guys. Have a good day.
Yep. Bye.